morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are in the world. Welcome back. Mentor Monday. We are back. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is TAETRO, if you don't know. And today's show, like I just said, is called Mentor Monday. If you don't know what Mentor Monday is, it's actually a fun little show where we talk about some of the more philosophical, motivational aspects of being a home studio music producer or creative. Get away from the technical stuff, and we kind of just talk about, life as an artist, life as a home studio music producer. What advice can I give? And then we do live call-ins where you can call in on Zoom, and I'm going to post a Zoom link in the chat right now. So you can call in, and don't worry, it's not everybody all at once. It's one call at a time. You call in, you ask a question. You'll be live on the air, audio only, so don't worry, it's no video. But you can call in with your questions around, motivational stuff, being a home studio electronic musician, music producer, creative person in general, anything you think that I can answer. And we've been having a lot of fun with these call-in shows, so I'm happy to be back doing this on Mondays. If you don't know, previously we were doing some of this on Thursdays with TAETRO Talks, but TAETRO Talks is also an interview show, and we have interviews lined up for the next few weeks. So we'll be doing interviews on Thursdays, but Mondays, Mentor Mondays, are back. And usually the way I like to start is by, talking about some topic, going off about some topic, doing a little bit of a talk, and then I take calls. So if you use that link that I just dropped in the chat, you will be led to the Zoom thing. You'll be put in a waiting room, and you will be actually in line for calling in. So that's going to be in a few minutes. We'll probably start taking calls in about 10 minutes or less. And I see some folks are already on the line waiting, and then I just take them as you can come. So great. I'm happy that some people are already calling in. Let me check in with the chat. Who's here? Melzadex was the first one here today. Sammy Gamer is here. Stoked for that. Mahir, unfortunately, was in the chat earlier but can't attend. But don't worry, because the stream will be available later. Carlos, hi. What is up? Nice to see you, Carlos. Samuel Messiah is here. I'm glad you could make it, Samuel. It is a little bit earlier today. I'm glad that works for your schedule. Ananas, hello. Joseph McAfee, bruh. Nick Lovin is here as usual. Effects on, what's up? Diamonds Forever. Grand Sing Music. I saw your post featured on one of those cool Instagram pages, so congrats on that. That was really cool. Carlos Pineda, bueno. Nova, what's up? Diego, my mom's here. Wow, look at that. She made it on time this time. Yusuf, what's going on? K-Dog is here. K-Dog is lit in the chat right now. Effexon's going to bed, I think. Jordan, you're here. So Kim. Gandalf is here. Gabriel. I'm going to keep going. Regina. Gonzalo. Charles. Love and Beats. Joey Culas. And Dad is here. Wow, Mom and Dad in the chat. Look at that. She had to beat my dad to the chat today. We need to do an Instagram swipe up so that people know that we're live before we really get into the meat and potatoes of this conversation today. So what I need you all to do in chat, if you've been here before, you know what to do. I need you to spam the chat with the words swipe up. Swipe up, swipe up, swipe up. Throw that in the chat. Spam it, and then I'm going to point the camera at the chat, and we're going to tell people that they need to tune in and that they can swipe up and come watch the video. Right after we do the swipe up, we are going to get into the real Mentor Monday stuff. And I just have this analogy that I've been thinking of for like my journey as a creative. And I think it probably applies to a lot of your journeys. And it's something to always keep in mind. So we're going to do that little talk, and then we're going to take the calls. I see you all are already spamming. So let's go ahead and do this. What's going on, everybody? We are back with Mentor Mondays. You can call me. We're going to be talking about all kinds of advice for home studio musicians, so you know what you need to do. Swipe up. Boom. We got it. Thank you for helping with that, chat. Whoa, it just did something weird to my video, but that's okay. I'm going to post it anyway. Done. And we're going to put a GIF on that. Thank you all for spamming the chat. Thank you so much. Who did I miss in the callouts? Who joined before the swipe up span? Jose. Who else? Somebody says swipe down. Effects on. You're trolling, bro. Chuck Anderson. Chuck Anderson is new to the show. Good to know. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. All right. I'm posting this. We're good. We did it. Thank you for spamming the chat, my friends. I only have 15 seconds to do that whole thing, so I'm sorry if your swipe up didn't make it to the Instagram story. What do you guys think of this shirt? All right. Let's get into the Mentor Monday today. Like I said, if you're already waiting, stay patient. Don't give up your spot in the Zoom thing because I will be taking the calls. We're going to do a quick talk first. And I want to make sure that you're seeing what I need you to see. So let's do a top-down view today. Overhead camera rig is doing well. I wonder if I can even split it. No, it's probably not worth it. All right, so hello. We have a nice notebook here. So today I want to talk about the journey, right? Our journey as creatives. And it's a bit of a mystery because you embark on this journey, whether you want to be a home studio music producer or whether you want to be an artist, whatever it is. So basically the analogy that I was thinking of the other night that was getting to me was I was thinking about being in a boat, and I'm not an artist, folks. I'm not a visual artist at all. But let's say you're in your boat, right? And this is the water. You're going to sail along in your water. You're starting your journey of, a lot of us are probably becoming electronic musicians, and you're fishing in the boat, right? And there's some fish in the water. But when you start out, you just have like your basic pole and you cast out, and maybe you catch some fish, right? Like maybe you have one fish. Maybe you catch one fish because you're okay at fishing. But your boat keeps moving forward. And as your boat keeps moving forward, you're going to learn things about catching fish. So maybe this kind of fish caught your bait, but maybe this kind of fish just disappears. And maybe there's bigger fish down here. Way bigger fish. Huge fish, right? So maybe what do you need to do? Okay, you need to upgrade your pole. You need to learn, what do these fish like? And there's different kinds of fish, right? What is this fish like? What is that fish like? What is that fish like? And you're learning that all along the way. And as you continue on your journey, there's schools of fish that catch on, that you get used to, right? And you can kind of have a good, easy time catching those fish in your boat. But you don't know where these schools of fish are. And I promise this will all make sense in a moment. You find these schools of fish, but then you might go through blank spots. You might find some areas where there's fish that you don't know how to catch. And then you might find there's more spots where there's fish that you know how to catch again, and there's lots of them. But you're above the water. The whole point here is you are above the water and you cannot see the fish. So that was a bad drawing. Let's tie it all together. You're on your journey. You're on your boat as a creative electronic musician, a music producer, a home studio music producer, a creative person. You're on a boat and you're fishing. You can't see what fish are ahead of you. And as you're going on your journey, you're getting better at fishing. You constantly have to be thinking about, how do I catch more fish? How do I catch different types of fish? So your mentality in the boat is constantly thinking about constant improvement. You want to be constantly improving and getting better so that you can catch more. That's your audience, right? As no matter what creative work you do, you try to grow your audience. But you might go through times where you are getting better at what you do. You are learning to catch more fish, and you just can't see ahead in the water where the schools of fish are. You don't know. You might go through pockets of times where, as a creative person, not a lot of people are consuming your work for one reason or another. And then you might go through another pocket where there's tons of people consuming your work. And during that time, you really want to capitalize. You want to make sure you don't break your pole during that time. You want to make sure you have enough bait to capture all those fish once you hit that pocket. So it's about constantly improving yourself and then making sure that when the time is right, when you're ready, when the opportunity comes and there's lots of folks turning up, that you're ready for it, that you're prepared. And the biggest part of this analogy is just to understand that you're sailing forward. No matter what, you're always sailing forward. You're always thinking about how you can get better. You're always thinking about how to improve. and embracing the fact that there's mystery. You don't know what lies ahead. You don't know what schools of fish lie ahead. You don't know what kind of fish lie ahead. You don't know what you're going to have to change or what you're going to have to switch up when you're on that journey and on your way of being a creative person and building your audience and your growth journey. So you have to embrace the mystery, because when you're sailing through and you hit a pocket where there's not a lot happening, what do? Do you turn the boat around and go home? If you do that, you're basically giving up on your career, you're giving up on yourself, you're giving up on your artist identity. Don't sail the boat and go home. Take the boat in a different direction. Doesn't have to be straightforward, can be a different direction. Check if there's fish over there. If there's not fish over there, your main mission is to be catching fish. So divert the boat. Take your boat, go different directions, figure out where those pockets of fish are. But don't get so down on yourself when you get into dry spots or pockets of no fish, right? To keep going with the fish analogy, don't stop. Don't turn around and take the boat home, or else you're not a fisherman anymore. And I think the thing that we all need as artists is to remind ourselves every day that we're artists, we're music producers, we're creators. You don't give that up. That's not something you give up. That's my philosophy, at least. So keep making that boat go home. Go straight, not go home. Keep sailing. Straight, left, right. Just stay in the water. That's what you want to do as a music producer. It's about the fish. Yes. I see people by making music or a different job. How you earn all these MIDI controllers. We'll talk about that in a bit. So hopefully that analogy didn't scare anybody away, but that's just what I want to be thinking about. Think about being in the boat, thinking about sailing, think about how you grow your art audience. It's a matter of finding where they are, but you could find the audience and not have the right tools to, capture them, or not have the right content, or not have the thing that gets them attracted to you. Not every fish bites on every line, bites every bait, etc., etc. Just something I was thinking about the other night. And I thought it would be a good way to kind of start today's Mentor Monday. But I think we should get into some calls, chat. What are you thinking about? Let's see. We have a few people in the waiting room. Remember, if you are in the waiting room, because we're about to take calls, that the stream is on a delay and that it will echo if you have the stream turned up. So turn the stream volume down. Make sure you're ready to turn your microphone up. All that stuff. All that good stuff. Joey Kulas asks, are you just mentoring electronic or other genres as well, my man? Well, I think it goes across all genres. Like that concept we just talked about, that's for any musician, any creative in general. And the way I see things, I consume a lot of media, mostly not from the electronic music world and the electronic music scene. And I take lessons that I apply to, my career as a home studio music producer and a content creator. I take lessons from all different creators. I love listening to commentary tracks on movies by movie directors, and I learned so much about being a creative person from those, even though I don't make movies. That's kind of where I'm at on that. Let's take our first call. Carlos Pineda is coming on the stream. Let's do it. Make sure you unmute. I'm going to ask to unmute and make sure this works.
Hello?
Hey, what's up, Carlos? How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Welcome back. You've called in before, right?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the show. What is your question today?
What happened?
You still there, Carlos? Yep.
Yeah, sorry. It's because I was getting confused because I had the
stream open.
I had the stream open.
Yeah.
So it kind of confused me.
Classic. What's your question today?
So I was wondering, it's because I'm making a lo-fi beat right now. Like, yeah. Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm just nervous.
Take your time. Yeah. Don't be nervous.
So, right now for cause you know how most lo-fi songs have like that little tape machine type of thing?
For sure, yeah.
I'm using one right now, but I was wondering, which vinyl plugins do you recommend?
Yeah, so actually I don't use a vinyl plugin. I use a tape plugin. I like the way tape sounds, like cassette tape. And the main
Yeah.
plugin that I use right now is the Waves J37 tape plugin. I really like the way that sounds. There's that one. So J37 by Waves is great. There's also Tape by Elephant. He's a producer, Ableton certified trainer. He has like a built-in, not built-in, but he has made an Ableton audio effect rack that basically does the same thing for tape emulation. It's got wobble and all that. Elephant is spelt with ELPHNT, so no vowels except for the first E. That's a good one. And then there's one that everybody else uses called RC20, I believe. A lot of people use the RC20 for like a tape sound. But if you have that, you should actually check out my video that's called Easy Lo-Fi Trick, because it's a really easy way to get some free, do a lo-fi sound for free, because you basically can just stretch your audio in Ableton Live. So if you look up like TAETRO, Easy Lo-Fi Trick, that video is really like simple, easy to follow, and you'll be able to make music sound lo-fi really easily in Ableton Live with no plugins. But yeah, folks in the chat, if you guys want to link to those plugins, if you use them, like some people are saying RC20 is nice. Some people are saying Elephant is great. My thing that I use, the Waves J37, came with a big bundle of plugins. So there's lots of options there. Totally. All right. Thank you for calling in, Carlos.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Have a good one. I hope to talk to you soon.
All right, you too.
Bye. Yeah, we got a couple people co-signing on the RC20. Yusuf and Will saying the RC20 is nice. RC20 is good. I haven't used it, but I know it's like super popular all of a sudden. Like in the past month or less, people are using it more and more. Let's keep going with calls. I will take questions in chat. I want to prioritize calls for a little bit because these folks have been waiting. And then I will go ahead and grab some questions from the written chat. Do I put that tape on the master? Jordan asks. Yes, I do. I put the J37 as part of my mastering chain, actually. All right. Next person, Samuel Messiah. Samuel has called in before, I believe, too. We have lots of repeat callers, which is totally awesome. Samuel, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. Nice to talk to you again. Are you excited that the stream is a bit earlier so you can make it?
Yeah, last time I forgot to turn on my alarm, and so I didn't wake up for the stream.
Nice. Well, welcome back. What is your question today?
So I have 3 questions.
Let's rapid fire. Let's do it.
Okay, so I was checking out the bundled software with my launch key, and I understood that Ableton you could authenticate only 2 times.
Yes.
Right? But like, how many other times can you download the other software?
It depends. Do you know what the other software is called? I'm not really sure what comes with it.
I think Splice. Splice is a 2-month membership, and then some key plugin, I think.
Yeah, so there's the plugins you should probably be able to download as many times as you want. The Splice is a trial, so it's only going to last you however long the trial is. And then Ableton, you can technically only authenticate 2 times. So the only thing you have to worry about there is just make sure you don't install on like multiple computers. Like whatever computer you're using for now, use it, and then don't put it on any other computer until you know that you're going to use that computer for a long time, because you don't want to get caught up. But with Ableton, I've had a situation where I have gotten more computers and authenticated it too many times, and I wrote Ableton an email, and they got back to me and let me they basically deactivated the old authorization and let me authorize it on a new computer since I ran out of computers to authorize on. So don't worry too much about that, but make sure you don't install it too many times before you find a computer that you're going to use a lot.
Okay.
Next question.
The second question was, what are these 3 shapes, these 3 last keys on the launch key? The circle, the triangle, and the square.
That's a great question.
About it.
Yes, you're super smart for asking that question. Those are actually mystery buttons. So if you guys don't know what Samuel is talking about, let me show the chat real quick. Where is it? Here it is. All right, chat. I hope you can see this. I'm going to switch my camera so people can see the top-down view. All right, if you can if you folks can kind of see, if you have a launch key, this makes sense. If you don't, it doesn't make sense. So above the keys, folks, there's like these different functions for the launch key, and a lot of them affect the arpeggiator. So basically, you hold the arpeggiator button down, you press a button, it changes a setting for the arpeggiator, like the rhythm and the chord and whatnot. Then there's these three last keys. There's a circle with a line through it above this one. There's a triangle with a line through it above this one. And there's a square with a line through it above this one. And those keys actually currently don't have any function that I know of, unless they recently added it, because I spoke to some folks, some friends who will remain nameless, and they told me that those are just mystery buttons, that they basically included those symbols just so that they could add function to it later. So Novation is really, really good about adding in function to stuff later on through firmware updates. So I would imagine that somewhere down the line, when people ask for features, like certain features that are not included currently on the launch key, they will use those buttons to, activate new features that they add. So currently, as far as I know, to this date, they have no function. So it's a mystery, but that's a smart question and smart looking out, because I'm sure you saw that there's nobody's talking about those buttons or those symbols at all, because they don't do anything yet.
Wait, can you custom map them?
I don't know. I actually don't know if you can custom map the shift functions of the keys. Probably not yet. So you could probably still only custom map knobs and the pads for now.
Okay.
Third question, let's do it. You have them
Okay,
written down, I can tell.
I know someone asked about this several call-in shows ago, but how do you deal with beat block?
Beat
or
block.
creator's block?
Beat block doesn't exist. Beat block means you sit.
Creator's block then.
It means you can sit at beat block. You sit at your controller, you sit at your DAW, you sit at your computer, and you literally come up with 0 ideas. That's beat block. That's impossible to do. Even if you came up with a remix of Mary Had a Little Lamb, that's still an idea. You know what I mean? So beat block only exists if you're sitting down and you're physically and mentally incapable of creating music. I say that because any of us can sit down and make really bad music. And there's nothing wrong with making bad music. It doesn't have to get released to the world, but if you really feel like you're having beat block, sit down and make bad music and take away your expectations of yourself and just allow yourself to make something bad. And maybe, you sit down for a session and it's all bad and you don't use it and you just delete the project, but it was still good exercise. Maybe you took something from that. Maybe you learned something about a plugin along the way. Just sit down and make something bad. There is no beat block. Unless you can physically and mentally not sit down and put any notes down on the page or on the DAW, beat block is not a real thing. It's a myth. Sit down and make bad stuff.
Okay.
And I bet you what happens most of the time is people sit down to make bad stuff and they do it for 10 minutes and they're like, oh, this isn't so bad. So
if you develop it for a while, it will become better.
Yeah, but it's also just about taking away the expectation. Like if you sit down every time and say, "Oh, this has to meet this bar, this has to hit this certain level of quality, or else I'm just gonna walk away." You might end up feeling disillusioned or not confident in what you're going to make most of the time because you're not hitting this self-expectation ceiling. You might hit down here and that's just fine for today, but maybe you learn something that's going to help you get to here and to here eventually down the road. So just sit down and let yourself make bad stuff. Not everything has to go out to an audience. Not everything has to get showed to a person. Sometimes you're just creating music to learn more about yourself or learn more about a plugin or learn more about playing on your controller. Sometimes it's not about making music to make a finished product. Sometimes it's about the learning process.
Okay. And wait, I had one last question, just a very quick one.
Do it.
I'm waiting for the Ableton tutorial video because I'm having some struggles with Ableton.
I actually might put together a whole course for that specifically because a lot of people are asking for it and it's a really deep subject. But I think that stay tuned. If not this month of July, I will make it a priority for the month of August.
Okay.
Awesome. Samuel, I'm so glad you could call in today.
Thank you.
Peace out, dude. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye. I'm so excited to see so many young people chat. Young music producers getting their first controllers, starting way younger than I did. Like, that's super inspiring. It should inspire all the adults, like me in the chat. All these young folks hanging out and doing their thing. Did I miss any questions in the chat? Anybody have burning questions that I have not answered yet? Go ahead and throw them in. Jose asks, have you tried Korg Wavetable Legacy? No, I have not. Could check it out, though. Anas asks, is this good advice? Oh, thank you. Love the comments. Let's go ahead and take another call. Alman. Let's do it. Thank you all for tuning in today. Yes. Alman, make sure your mic is turned on. Little icon in the bottom left for most, I believe. Or else I'll just throw you back in the waiting room and you could figure it out. K-Dog asks, would you try Logic Pro X? I could. I probably won't anytime soon. I'm just a little too busy at the moment. But it is super appealing. Alman, is that you? I can hear you.
Yes.
Am I saying your name right?
Alman, yeah.
Alman.
That's close enough.
Great. Welcome to the stream. Where are you calling in from?
I'm in Connecticut.
Connecticut. East Coast.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. I'm originally from Boston. Or from Massachusetts.
Yeah, you moved to the West Coast. I was like excited that you were on the East Coast for a bit, but then I guess you're on the other side now.
Yeah, my family's all still out there, so I'll spend some time back on the East Coast and all that. But for now, we're experimenting with the West Coast.
Cool.
Thank you for calling in today. What's your question?
Well, I've been, making music for about 10 years. And my personality type, I'm very kind of like introverted. I kind of keep to myself, even though I've literally traveled internationally, performed live. I've done albums and stuff, but I'm still kind of like in my own world when I'm not working with actual professionals and engineers who, deliver the best product. But when I'm on my own, it's like I'm limited in my engineering capability or in my production or instrumentation capability. So that gets kind of debilitating, right? It gets in my way.
For sure.
And it's prevented me from putting stuff out. What I realized recently, I'm kind of, redoing my studio and, being inspired by your stuff. So thank you for,
Thank you.
contributing to the kind of, creative space. What I wanted to do was start doing these beat videos and kind of just opening up on YouTube and sharing my creativity and stuff. But I had a technical question,
Sure.
which I never quite figured out. So when you're creating a beat, and you're making a video for that, like the videos that you put out of you creating a beat, what is the technical process of actually doing that? I mean, do you create the beat and then shoot the footage later and sync it? Do you do it live? And if so, how do you deal with metronomes? The click coming into like the audio. Do you record your audio from a sound card in your computer, or do you do it an output to an external recording device or your camera?
It's a good question.
I'm curious about that, and I can't find anything about it.
Yeah, you're not the only one who's been asking about that. I've been getting comments and messages and stuff about it. So I think I probably will make a video about it in the near future. I have lots of requests for videos. But this is a good one. So there's a couple ways I can do it. I'll just try to explain it for now, because this will hold the place of an actual tutorial for the moment. So my main process, there's kind of two ways it can be done, but the main process that I do now for making beat videos is I will record. I'll open an Ableton session. So I actually have this. I work with ADSR, who's they sell sound packs, they sell courses, so I've done courses for them, and then I also take their sound packs and I make videos for them every week, because they put different sound packs on sale. And my process for that, because it's kind of a quick turnaround time, is I sit down and I open up the sound pack and I make the beat. So I make it's usually about 7 or 8, loops that all go together and make a beat. I sit down, no cameras rolling, nothing, in Ableton Live, make those loops and make those beats and decide what the sound is, how it's going to sound, and all that. So that's kind of like a pre-production phase. Then when it's time to shoot, what I do is I have all those ideas. Those are like the first draft ideas. And then I roll the cameras. I roll 2 cameras. I have the one that I'm talking into right now for the stream. And then I have the above camera, obviously, that I was using before. I roll both of them at the same time, and they're all recording sound. They're just recording the sound of the room. And then I go ahead, use my controller, and recreate those musical ideas that I already made. So each one of those loops that I already made, I make them again and I play them, but with the cameras rolling. So the camera's rolling, and I'm actually making those loops and recording those loops again. The reason for having the pre-production phase and coming up with the musical ideas first and then shooting and recording those loops again is because I want to shoot for as little time as possible, so the files aren't huge, and so that, you know, I'm not full on shooting the music creation process. So I come up with the ideas first, then shoot when the ideas are solid. I'm gonna record them again. So then I shoot that. That ends up being like a 10-minute video. And then how does that all sync? I think that's the major question. Because then I take those loops that I created on camera, that I recorded, and I arrange them into a track. And I put them into arrangement view, make the structure of the track that I want, export that as a track. Then I go into my video editing software and I grab the 2 files, and something like Final Cut Pro has a really useful function called multicam like sync editing. So basically I can take those 2 video files that are, you know, pretty much the same length, they're shooting the same thing, but from 2 different angles, sync them together. So they're basically one video file that I can switch between. I can say camera 1, camera 2, and it's in the same place in the file. And I find the spaces. You mentioned the metronome. I keep the metronome on during the whole recording process, and I actually use that as a guide because I do a count in before every new musical idea. So I know in the file, this is pretty dry. This needs to be a video because I can't just explain it. In the video file, I can see the sound, right? So I can see before every musical idea a metronome, a 4-beat metronome. So I know, like, oh, that's where I recorded the drums. That's where I recorded the keyboard. I slice it up just like that. So I slice up all of the individual musical ideas because obviously I'll mess up takes in between. So I slice up the video so that I only have the 7 musical ideas, the video for that, and then I line them each up with the track. So if the track starts with drums, I find the portion of the video with drums, crop it out, like clip it, and then put it over the track and line it up, sync it up. That's where using the metronome comes in because I can listen to both my exported track and the audio from the cameras that is bad quality but has a metronome sound in it and use that to manually sync it up. And I do that for each of the musical loops. I line them all up, fit them all together, switch between the cameras along the way, and that's how I make a beat video. I hope that was clear.
That was intense, but
yeah, it's intense. It really
yeah.
needs to be a video because it's less complicated than it just sounded like. It's just about syncing video and then having separate audio. Like I don't obviously use the camera audio. I'm using a separate exported arrangement.
Okay, so like when you're out in the environment and you're doing that thing, are you, do you have your Bluetooth speaker playing the metronome and making the beat there, and then you're syncing it later?
Then I sync it later. Yeah. So there's that. Like you have to hardwire the Bluetooth speaker in. First of all, a lot of people are confused about that, of course, because of latency. Then there's the second way that you can do this, which like the way I just described it to you, those aren't live sessions. Those are just like beat videos. Like I'm not making that beat live. I'm taking all the pieces and putting it together so it's one straight through recording, but it's more like a music video. It's not a live performance. If I'm recording a live performance like I do a lot of the times with my groove boxes, I do some controller performances that are just straight through live. I just take a audio recorder like my Tascam that I use a lot. I run the audio straight in from the laptop to the audio recorder. I monitor through the audio recorder because it has a headphone out, and I just record in real time. Or the other important part here is the audio out on the audio recorder can either go to my headphones or it can go to my speaker. Playing the sound out loud makes syncing a lot easier later because the audio from the cameras the cameras are picking up the audio of what's being played out if you're playing through a speaker, even though you're not going to use that audio. But the way video programs sync things is with sound. So whereas this Tascam recorder will have recorded a nice high quality version of the session, the cameras will hear what the audio recorder is hearing, and it will use that to sync up the camera footage and the actual high quality audio. And then I just use the high quality audio. I don't use the camera audio, but the camera audio is still crucial because it syncs. That's how it syncs.
Cool.
I used to do it a lot harder way and just look in my hands and say like, okay, I hit the downbeat here. That's where I need to line it up, and like physically like manually moving the audio files to match. But it's a lot easier when you're playing sound out loud.
That totally makes sense. That's super helpful, man.
Oh, I hope it was helpful. It sounded confusing to me.
I mean, I've synced videos in the past. I mean, especially in like Final Cut, it's really easy to like sync audio to video and stuff. So I was just confused in the process of like how people deal with the metronome and if they're doing it live. But now I definitely because I have some experience in video production, I kind of have like a blueprint of what I think I should do. So I'm definitely going to try it out, and I really appreciate your help, man.
Yeah, multicam editing, it kind of changed my workflow because I used to sync everything manually because I came from it not knowing anything about video production. But once I learned about multicam editing and all that, it made my life so much easier.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, don't let the good be the enemy, or whatever that expression is. I lost it now. What am I trying to say? Don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. When you're thinking about your output and you have that experience with all that professional stuff, but now you're trying to do things on your own, you are going to have to sacrifice a little bit of quality to get stuff out, but it's more worth it to get stuff out and sacrifice a little bit of quality because your audience doesn't see that sacrifice of quality like you see it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things. Like obviously, like, you being a producer, we don't listen to music the same way normal people listen to music.
We're analyzing things constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like one of my friends, he's a painter. His name is Shark, and he will listen to music and, we'll talk about it, but we're listening to it in a different kind of way. So we're listening to like frequencies and how they put something in a rhythm section. He's listening to it in a different way, but he still has that creative mind. So it's definitely, he's like one of the people I turn to kind of get me grounded. So yeah,
for sure.
I think it's cool to have a team, like, people who can give you
other creative people. Just like surround yourself with creative people, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for calling in, man.
Really helpful. Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Yeah, chat. I hope that wasn't too complicated. Hey, Manuel Gonzalez is here, and he says first. Yep, that's right. He was the first one here in the show. Brawl Gamers asks, how do you call into the show? I'm going to drop that link in here again. Boom. There we go. What specs do you recommend for a Windows laptop as high of a processor as you can get? i7, i9, all that. And RAM and hardware space. Highest you can get. Hard drive space matters the least. It just matters how much you want to actually fit on your computer. I saw a good question and now I lost it. Yeah, chat, just let me know if like that video, the video about how to make the videos would be interesting, because I can totally make one about that. But y'all got to turn up when I post. Sometimes you all ask for videos and then you don't turn up on the video. For sure. Okay, let's take another call. Bueno is up. Let's do it. Bueno from Jamaica. Yes, people seem interested in the video. The video about videos. Very cool. Bueno is connecting to audio and can't hear you yet. Thank you, Zoom.
Yes.
Bueno, you can hear me?
Yes.
Welcome to the stream. How are you today?
I'm okay.
I'll also say thank you so much for always being here. You're always in every stream, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah. I have a question about here. Okay. I've been using Ableton for a couple years now, and I wanted to get a premium MIDI controller
Nice.
keyboard to use.
Do you have any controllers right now?
I have um I have a basic MIDI controller, but it doesn't have any knobs or anything on it.
Okay.
But I'm a I have been making music for years now and using Ableton, but I want to start get into electronic music production.
Nice.
But I can't figure out which controller to get.
So it depends on your price range. Do you have a price range or your budget that you're going for?
Anywhere between 500 and above.
500 and
Um,
above. You want to invest you want to invest a good amount.
yes.
All right. Well, this is a very easy answer because the most premium Ableton controller that you can invest in right now is the Ableton Push, the Ableton Push 2, which I have here. Which I'm gonna knock this over. The Ableton Push 2 is absolutely, without a doubt, the most premium premier Ableton Live controller, and I say that because it's made by Ableton. So you don't get that anywhere else. It's made for Ableton. It's not made for anything else. Pretty much any function that you can think of and use it in your creative process with Ableton Live is baked into this thing. Any workflow and performance functions that you can think of are baked in. The screen, it's got a nice screen on it so you can work and sample and filter things. It just shows lots of different stuff on the screen, including the mixer. The knobs are endless encoders, so they just keep spinning. They're endless, so no matter what you select, what you're controlling, you're in the right place. It's got a foot pedal, 2 foot pedal inputs. It's USB. What else can I say? This is the premier one. If you want to drop a good amount of money and you want to have one controller that's going to last you a very, very long time, the Ableton Push 2, without a doubt. What are your thoughts there? Was that the answer you were looking for?
Not necessarily, but I was looking at that controller as well. I really like it, but the pads on it are kind of small for finger drumming to me.
Oh, you think
I
so? I don't think so, actually. I think it will take you a little bit of getting used to. They're not as big as the MPK or
I
something like that.
I I
Go
am
ahead.
used to the larger pads on the and like the Akai MPK,
Yeah.
the MPK for them, but the 64 pads on the push.
Yes.
I wouldn't necessarily use most of those because I am a traditional piano player, so I normally play play on a keyboard. But I would have mainly preferred
So
a
you want like a
premium
keyboard
MIDI
controller.
MIDI keyboard controller.
Good. Okay. Premium MIDI keyboard controller. You should look
Yes.
at the
Wait.
since you go
Also
ahead.
I browse all of my sounds through the complete control software. So
Oh.
I am not sure.
Well, if you use the Complete Control software, you should look at some of the Complete controllers. I want to get the name right, so I'm
Yes.
just gonna go ahead and Google this. Yeah, the like especially if you are a traditional piano player, there is of
Yes.
course the S controllers, the Complete Control S 88, something like that. Is without a doubt a good controller. There's also the Complete Control A series, which is the A, they have the A61. The problem with these is they don't have pads, so you're going to make some kind of sacrifice
Yeah.
along the way. But one more recommendation I'll make to you, and then we'll take another call, is the Keylab, the Arturia Keylab 88. Those are beautiful keys. It has Ableton Live integration. It has pads that are close to the size of the MPK. It's got knobs. It's got a screen. It's got faders. So the Keylab 88. So that is an 88 key MIDI keyboard. That is premium. It's
Yeah.
nice and heavy. It's very good build quality. The keys are semi-weighted, so that'll be good for you as a keyboard player. And I think that would be a good fit for you if you don't like any of the complete controllers.
Yeah. Okay. Also, I was looking at the Machina MK3 as well.
Yep.
I am I I am not sure if it would be a good workflow for Ableton. What do you think about it?
Yeah, it's not really a good workflow for Ableton because Machina is basically its own software. Machina is basically its own DAW. You can load it up as a plugin in Ableton and make beats that way, but I really look at Machina as its own separate DAW, which is fine. It's totally great. But when people start getting confused and trying to use it as an Ableton controller, like you're not going to be able to mix your tracks in Ableton. You're not going to be able to just switch to an instrument and start controlling it. Like it doesn't work that well. I wish it did. I wish they would write just a simple script for it that could make it more like a push, but it's unfortunately not totally a great Ableton controller. Now, if you were going to make music in just Machina, I'd say, yeah, go for it. But since you are trying to make music in Ableton Live and you want to use other plugins, I would avoid that for now for you.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you so much for calling in, and thank you for always tuning into the streams and being here for every video. I really appreciate you.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good one.
Okay.
Let's keep going. I see more people in the calls. We're going to keep moving. We're going to go for maybe 20 more minutes, folks. So we are going to have to close the line soon. But I thank you all for tuning in. Let me know what you think of this Mentor Monday. If you're going to tune in again every Monday. Also would love to hear what videos you all like on the channel the most. Do you like the tutorials? Do you like the beat making videos? What do you all like? Oh, yo, what up? 41 Pook. Nice to see you. How to call in? There's a Zoom link in this chat somewhere. You must find it. It's a quest. All that. Yes. Somebody asked which Launchpad are you using? I was just using the Launchpad Pro Mark III. Is it the Mark III? There was only one Launchpad Pro before this, so why would it be the Mark III? But the new Launchpad Pro. I just used it for the first time the other day. Really haven't even cracked the beginning of it. Yeah, Nick Lovin, the struggle for folks who are piano trained is they are very not used to the grid. And there are lots of good keyboard controllers out there. So people who are piano trained are at a bit of an advantage because there are more controllers out there with keys. But I have some regular keyboard training, but I also love playing on grids. So it's tough. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. Let's take another call. OWMB. You are up next. Let's get this one in here and we'll keep rolling with these calls. Good to hear. Thank you, Regina. Regina says, great mix of tutorials, beat making videos. Yeah, I have to be able to A, make the music, and B, also show you how to do it. If I'm only doing one of those things, I think I'm failing. So I try to do both. OWMB, you're live on the stream. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
What's going on? How are you?
I'm okay.
Can you get a little bit closer to your mic for me?
Let's see. Okay. Better?
It's a little bit better.
Yeah. Let's turn it a little bit closer.
Cool. What's your question today? Where are you calling in from, first of all?
Norway.
Norway. How are things in Norway?
Pretty fine.
Good.
It's not that bad.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
What's your question today?
Well, I had a question about it's a little bit too much focus on gear today, I feel.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
The focus on gear and folks' questions about gear.
Yeah, instead of using what you have, skills, and learning skills.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough balance to walk because there is a certain point at which, you don't have any gear and then you get something and it can vastly improve your your abilities, your capabilities. But then there's a point. But I think this is what I try to be clear about, especially with my channel and me, and look behind me and see all this gear, which a lot of it is super redundant. So, but people might see it all and think, "Wow, I should have that much," and that's not really the case.
Yeah.
The only reason I have all this gear is because I do a YouTube channel, and I guess because I'm super stoked about controllers. I guess I consider myself a little bit of a collector now of controllers because I really like tech and all that. So so to be super clear with people and just jumping off of what you said, OWMB, is gear shouldn't really be the focus. Like, you should really have one tool that you're using all the time and getting proficient with and making stuff with and getting happy with, because there's no piece of gear that is going to transform you into this mega producer, mega creator. I watch producers that are huge all the time make music with just their laptop, no controller at all. And I'm talking about multi-platinum producers. I've watched videos of folks making beats with just a laptop and nothing else. So it's easy to see these controllers and all this gear that I use, but that's what I do. Like, this is what I do for a living. I make content with gear. It's a very specific thing. Do you need that? No, not necessarily. It's not going to improve your buying more gear is not going to improve your music. It's find the right tool, if you want to be a carpenter, you get a certain amount of tools that fit in your tool belt, and that's all you use. I don't think you see a lot of carpenters waiting to get the new version of the hammer every year. But with MIDI controllers, it can kind of be like that, because a new MIDI controller comes out every year that people want to get. But if you think about it, we talked about the fishing analogy at the beginning of the stream. If you're a fisherman and you're getting your tools, like what tools are going to attract your audience, what tools are going to allow you to do what you want to do, you have your fishing pole. You can, of course, make upgrades to the fishing pole along the way, but at the root of that, sometimes a fishing pole is just good enough. What you have is good enough, and you're going to catch fish with it.
Okay.
What-
Yeah.
what do you think about it?
Kind of what I meant as well. So.
What about you? How's your gear acquisition syndrome?
It's way out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. But usually I play more traditional instruments, so guitar and bass and stuff like that.
And that can always
I
have
also
have its own.
I have way more MIDI controllers than I need.
Right.
So
Yeah.
It's not that I'm a good person or anything like that.
Yeah.
But,
It's about focusing on the essential.
I just wanted it to get out there.
Yeah.
You don't need gear. You just need to get creative.
For sure. It's an important subject. I thank you for bringing it up, and thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Yeah. It's a really good point, folks. Gear. Like, don't get confused with my shelves. You all know what I do. Like, you all know better than that. You all know what I do for this channel and for all that. You know that it's not 100% necessary, and that I do it because of my specific channel's focus. Yusuf, you're up next. Let's keep on rolling. I'm stoked about when we started doing Mentor Monday, it took a while for y'all to call in, but I'm stoked that y'all are calling in. Carlos Panetta asks who disliked. There's a very sad person, Carlos, who comes to every one of my videos and streams and clicks the dislike button for no reason. Yusuf, welcome to the stream.
Hello, is my voice clear?
Nice and clear, loud and clear. How are you?
Nice, I'm good. What about you, TAETRO?
I'm pretty good. It's Monday. Today is a very busy Monday, but I feel good. I'm happy to be able to do what I do in a time like this. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, thank you for doing these kind of stuff. Like, it really helps us all a lot.
I appreciate
for
that. Thank you for saying that.
So my question. Well, my question has been kind of answered, but I'm going to ask a slightly different thing.
Cool.
It's about the creator's block.
Yeah.
So like, I just got a Launch Key Mini Mark III. It really improved my creative process,
Nice.
and I'm able to create like beats and music faster and put out my ideas easier.
Great.
But
And
the thing is,
before you go
like,
on though, that's a perfect follow up to that last question, because we talked about like gear acquisition syndrome and people wanting to buy more and more gear. And you're the perfect example of like this, the moment that you bought this piece of gear, it allowed you to make more music faster and just completely improved your workflow and is probably making you happier making beats. That's when buying gear is important. And
Yeah.
we oftentimes people go a little bit past that point and think that gear is going to solve their problems. Well, for you, gear did solve a problem, but now you're pretty much set for the foreseeable future. So you don't really, probably won't need more for a bit, but that's good to hear. I just wanted to say that as a follow up to that last call.
Exactly. Like I was good doing music on my computer, just by my computer. But like you said, when I got a gear, like the process have been like easier.
Absolutely.
Sorry for my English, by the way.
No,
It's
you're
not my
fine.
main-
You're great. No worries.
Okay. So on to my question. So like I'm putting out a lot of ideas. Oh, this melody is nice. Oh, I just found out a drop idea, or like an intro idea. But the thing is, like, there's many ideas, but there's never finished ideas. Like I can't finish them.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like, it's kind of linked to creator's block, but I don't know.
Kind of. A lot of it has to do with the fact that coming up with new ideas is always more fun. It's usually more fun than finishing an idea, because a lot of the spontaneity of creating new music and improvising and bringing a new idea from zero to actually being a live new idea is so much more instantly rewarding and instantly gratifying. And then we walk away from it because we've kind of had that thrill of making something new. It's spontaneous, it's fun. But then we just try to repeat that process because we're basically getting like dopamine. Like we're getting, it's like a drug. It's like getting adrenaline off of, making something new. And that's great because making something new can be hard for some folks. The reason finishing and pushing through is so hard because it is a push, because then it becomes less about a thrill and less about spontaneity and more about work. It becomes more about a process of refining, not just creating, but refining. And that can be tedious. It can be a bit monotonous. But ultimately it is like if you're an artist, if you consider yourself an artist, it's no longer just a hobby. It's no longer just for fun. It's your work. Like as my artist, like there's the work that is the job that people go do from 9 to 5. And then there's your work as an artist, which is like what you put out into the world. And there's a reason that those two things are the same word, work, your artist's work or your work, your job. And it's because it takes a bit more effort than the average person is willing to be able to put in. So if you are an artist and you are defining yourself that way, you have taken a step in just defining yourself as an artist. You're taking a step and saying, okay, this is no longer just for fun. This is no longer just a hobby. This is my work. And just because it's work doesn't mean it's something that's bad. Doesn't mean it's something that's difficult to overcome. Doesn't mean it's something that you have to do. But what it does mean is that it requires that step up in effort. So it goes from being just the fun thing to becoming, a thing that you're going to actually work at and get better and finish. So it's not, I think a lot of gurus and stuff try to lie and say, yeah, I just love the process so much. I do it all the time and it's what I love to do. And maybe there are some people who do that. But for everybody, I think, every artist working in any media, there is a point in which creating something becomes work and becomes tiring and becomes exhausting. And you just need to push through that. But the way you get through that is by acknowledging to yourself that you're not doing anything wrong just because this feels like work and just because this feels tiring. you're not doing anything wrong. You're not less than an artist because it's not just flowing from your fingertips, or because you're not able to just sit down and finish a track in an instant. You're not less of an artist because of that. It's work, and it's work for everybody. And that's why this is not just to promote the videos, but I've put out 2 videos now, one recently, of completely uncut beat making process, because I know that people are so used to seeing final products of what I create. They don't see the 40 minutes, like the recent video is 40 minutes long, the 40 minutes that it took to just come up with those ideas. And the first 10 to 15 minutes of that video is me coming up with a bad idea and then completely deleting it. So people don't see that. You're not less of a producer if you go through that process. Everybody's doing that. People just don't show it. So to really get to the root of your question is like how it's hard to finish things. It's because it does take a little bit more work and a little bit more effort, and it doesn't have the same feeling, that same spontaneous, exciting feeling as creating something new. But that's our job as artists. And if we're going to call ourselves artists, we have to finish our work. It is our work indeed, in the true sense of the word work, you know? And just because it feels like work doesn't mean you don't love it. I love playing Call of Duty strictly for fun, for my hobby. It is not my work. I'm not a streamer. I'm not a video game designer. I'm not a pro competitive Call of Duty player. So I don't approach it like work. I approach it like fun. Like I just sit down and play it, and I, try to be good at it, but I'm not actively practicing or making myself better at it. It's just for fun. Music is different for me. It is for fun. I have fun doing it, but then I also take the extra steps to complete work and to get better at what I'm doing and to research how to be better at it. All of that. And that is also to say, the flip side of this is maybe for anybody out there, music can just be a hobby and can just be for fun. Music can be your Call of Duty. You know what I mean? Like you can sit down and just have fun making beats. There's nothing wrong with that. I think there's a culture right now of people having to create and put things out and be a creator and be a creator in quotes, like publicly. And that doesn't have to be a thing either. There are lots of people that are very, very happy just being hobbyists, being hobby musicians. If you want something more for yourself and you want to be a professional artist eventually and live off your music and live off your work, your artistic work, then it does take a little bit more effort. And we have to embrace that it is work. That's what I would say.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Like, so I'm putting off ideas, but like when I get bored of working on it more, I just start off to a new idea.
Yep, that's the discipline.
That's what I shouldn't do.
It's discipline. It's like with anything. It's like with exercising or anything you needed at some point, either if you had to go to work or to school, you learned that you had to get up early to get there on time, right? Mm-hmm. But it would have been a lot easier just to stay in bed. But instead you learned the discipline of waking up early and going to school or going to work because that's what you had to do to get it done. That's the same thing for music production. You have to learn the discipline of, okay, I came up with this idea. Now I'm getting a little bit bored. I don't know if you're actually getting bored or if you're just hitting the line of like it not being fun improv and now it's actual work. So I think that's the bump in the road that you're hitting. And what you have to develop now is the discipline to keep pushing through. Because that dopamine, that rush of adrenaline that you get when you're creating a new idea, that's going to come back later. When you finish a track and you can release it and you can share it with people and people can hear a finished track, not just a finished drop idea or a finished intro idea, that feeling comes back. That feeling that you had when you first started creating something new, when you can actually share a finished product out to the world, that's where the feeling comes back. But sandwiched in between those really good feelings is a hard work, discipline that you have to develop. So develop that discipline. That's what I'd say to you. You have to push through that. Just like you push through like, oh, I have school now or I have work now. I have to wake up at this time to get there. Just like it would have been easier to go back to bed. In music production, it's a lot easier just to go back to, I'll just start a new project. No, you got to break that habit and you got to say, no, I have to get up now to get there on time. Well, in music production, it's, no, I have to flesh out this idea, finish this track before I move on, because that's what I need to do as an artist.
Yeah, that's really right. Thanks a lot.
You can do it.
To finish a track because I know that I'm not trying hard enough. So I'll try that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Don't let that internal pressure like put you down. It's driving. It's just building up a discipline, and you might do a little bit better next time, and then a little bit better next time. It's not. Don't push yourself to go to 100%, or you're gonna feel bad about it. Push yourself to go as far as you can go. A little bit further each day is better than trying to push yourself to 100% and feeling bad that you didn't make it to 100%.
All right. Is there time enough for a second question, or if there's a time limit, it's totally okay.
How about you save your second question for next Monday, because I have a few more calls to get through and I want to be off, and I kind of have to get off soon.
All right, that's totally cool.
Awesome. I'll look
Thanks
forward to hearing
again.
your next question next Monday.
All right, see you.
Have a good one. Joshua, you're in. All right, we have 5 calls left, and we're going to call it a day at these 5 more calls. So, folks, please, I'm closing the waiting room. This is what we have. Joshua, welcome to the stream. Hi, Joshua. Can you hear me?
Hi. Hello, Nick.
Hi, welcome to the stream. Where are you calling in from?
So my question is, how do you get the practice for mixing and mastering?
The practice for mixing and
What's the
mastering?
best- what's the best habit? What's the best discipline for mixing and mastering?
It's interesting. It's hard to say. I don't approach mixing and mastering like playing an instrument, but I'm also not a mixing and mastering engineer, so I'm going to answer this to the best of my ability. If you really want to become better at mixing and mastering, there's tons of resources out there, free resources. I just posted a video that has free 2 months of Skillshare, and in that Skillshare you can access the Young Guru mixing class, and that's a really high level mixing class, very good mixing class. Also on YouTube, there's so many. Find your favorite artist and figure out and just watch them do tutorials and watch them mix. That is the best thing that I can tell you to get better, because they will use specific plugins and specific EQ techniques that you need to learn. But a lot of times when we just watch YouTube videos and YouTube tutorials, we just sit there and consume it and think that it's all going into our brains. But we don't approach learning like that. When we go to school, we carry our notebooks and we take notes. So there's very many times that I sit with YouTube tutorials and I've just taken notes and wrote things down. I might reference them later, but even if I don't reference them later, writing them down in the moment helps me retain the information so much better. So that would be my advice. If you're going to approach mixing and mastering, you're going to be learning it, because you can't just start throwing plugins on your project and hope for the best. What you need to do is watch how people actually do it, because when you're cooking and you want to cook a meal, and you go get a recipe. You don't just go buy a bunch of random ingredients, throw them in a bowl, mix them together, and hope for the best. You watch a video of how a chef makes it, or you get a recipe of exactly how a chef makes it, and you recreate that. So this is not all mysterious. This is not all a mystery out there. There's a lot of things like that too, it's kind of like an amateur mindset, like thinking everything is so mystical and a mystery and a secret. It's not. Literally just Google it. Find a YouTube video. Watch exactly what people do and get rid of your opinions. Because if you don't know anything about mixing and mastering, you need to just take somebody else's advice. You can't look at what they're doing and say, nah, I don't want to use that plugin, or nah, I don't think that technique works. At the beginner level, you just need to listen and replicate. I think the amateur mindset a lot of the time is look at the advice somebody gives and say, nah, I want to do it my way. But that's just going to keep you further and further behind. So very, very diligently attempt to recreate the success of others by doing exactly what they do and taking their advice exactly. And once you understand some core concepts, then you can deviate and improvise. But you have to understand those core concepts first and really just replicate as best as you can. That is my best. Like, I can't give too much technical advice on mixing and mastering because I'm not super technically advanced in that way. But what I can do is what I just did and tell you about how you can absolutely learn mixing and mastering basically just by listening to what people tell you and diligently taking notes and watching your favorite producers do it. So I hope that was helpful.
So I guess like it's the same method as the first time you try to produce and learn the DAW.
Exactly. It's exactly that. And learning about the frequency spectrum, all those things, you know, we could do a whole video on that, and maybe we will one day, but there is plenty of resources out there for those of you who want to learn how to professionally mix and master. There's paid resources. You could pay, take a class with somebody, great, or you can search up for free and see how your favorite producer is doing it. I'm sure they have a tutorial, or somebody similar to them has a tutorial, and literally just listen to them as if they are saying the truth. Just imagine that you know nothing and they know everything, and just recreate that. Like I had trouble with that, like humbling myself to say like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Let me do exactly what they say. Let me not let my ego get in the way and say, no, I know how to do this better, because I don't, you know? So pushing ego aside is a big part of learning. Thank you for calling in, Joshua.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Thank you very much for the tips.
Have a good one. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, see you later.
All right. We have 2 waiting, folks. We're going to take 2 more calls, I think. Thank you all for tuning in. If you are enjoying this stream, please let me know in the chat. I'm so glad that we're able to do this call today. But let's grab K-Dog Beats. We will be streaming every Monday on Mentor Monday, so make sure you call in with your questions or get ready to call in next Monday. More videos coming out this week. K-Dog Beats, what's going on? How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. K-Dog, you are another one of those folks that turns up for every video, and you're so supportive, and I just want to say thank you so much for it. I really appreciate you.
Hey, no problem.
What's your question today? Well, where are you calling in from, first of all, and then what's your question?
I'm calling in from Canada.
Nice.
Yeah. So, what MIDI controller do you recommend for traveling?
That depends. So a couple MIDI controllers that I love for traveling. Actually, I'll just talk about one main one for now. Is the Seaboard block, because it's so small. Like any of these blocks. I'm looking for the other blocks, but I don't see them. They're far away. This is so small. Two controllers
yeah.
I have to mention. Sensal Morph, which I can't show this right now, but have you heard of this controller before? We've talked about it on the stream and stuff, I think. But for those of you who don't know, has different surfaces. This is obviously the Beatmaker's kit. And this is, pads. Then there's a keyboard overlay that you can throw the keyboard on there. There's a couple different overlays. But so basically you get like a full-size pad controller plus a keyboard controller plus whatever other overlays you want to get for it. The reason I say this is good for travel is because look at this. It's so thin. Yeah. And like, to give the folks at home a perspective, this is my iPad right here, and it's actually the same exact form factor as an iPad. So if you have an iPad, iPads are built to travel, right? iPads are built to be like mobile technology. These are the same exact size. So for travel, this is an amazing controller, and it's Bluetooth. So you don't have to worry about forgetting your wires at home. Bluetooth. And then that's the reason I initially grabbed the Seaboard block as well, because the Seaboard block is, it's not as thin as the Sensal Morph, but it's still pretty thin and portable. It's also Bluetooth, so you don't need to bring wires. Bring a wire to charge it, of course, but it's Bluetooth to your computer. So in terms of being on a plane or something, like, I don't have to plug a bunch of things in. I just turn the thing on and I use it. This has real keys, where the Sensal Morph is more just like a hard surface, So I think travel controllers, these are my top 2 contenders. Number 1, Space Saver with the Sensal Morph, and then Seaboard block has all of its MPE. Oh, this also has MPE, but this is like a squishy reactive surface, where this is more hard and just like I don't know how to say it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. How are you, K-Dog? Anything else we should talk about today? Because I hear from you a
No,
lot.
that's all I needed to know. Thank you so much.
Awesome. You can call in next Mentor Monday if you have any more questions.
Sounds good.
Peace out, dude.
Yeah, peace out.
All right, chat. The next call is the final call. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Hey, who's on the line here? I don't see a name today. Hey, you're on the air. Can you hear me? This is TAETRO. Too bad. One more time. Can you hear me? You're on the stream with TAETRO. This is interesting because it shows up as a phone number, not as a.
Hello?
Hello, you can hear me?
Yeah, this 41 Poops.
Oh, what is going on, dude? Welcome to the stream.
What's the deal, dude? I'm watching. I was trying to ask you a question. Did you ever use FL Studios?
I had never used FL Studio. Do you use FL Studio?
Yeah, I just had got it like 2 weeks ago, so I was trying to see if you knew anything about it.
I don't know much about it, but I know a lot of beat makers use it. So I know like I'm an Ableton user, and a lot of people like to say their DAW is the best. But I think whatever program you can use to make music, that's what works best. You know.
Okay, so my cousin gave me his keyboard. It's a Launch Key 25.
Nice.
And he told me to get Ableton, but I kind of went off and bought FL Studios.
What led you to getting FL Studio? I'm curious.
You said what?
What led you to get FL Studio?
Well, it was cheaper at the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the money
for sure.
Yeah, so I was trying to hook it up, but my keyboard wouldn't hook up to the FL, so I was trying to see if you knew that.
Yeah, the hard part about that is the launch key integration is basically made for Ableton. But you still should, if you plug that keyboard into your computer, you boot up FL Studio, you're going to want to look in the preferences for like MIDI controllers or MIDI preferences, and just make sure the launch key is selected wherever in there. I don't know much about FL Studio, so that's one thing to check. And just a quick Google or a YouTube of like how to hook up a MIDI controller to FL Studio, that should point you in the right direction. The other thing I want to say too is that Ableton Live has a free, so I know you're just new to this and you got FL Studio. Keep doing your thing with that. Yeah. But if you are curious about Ableton Live, there's a full free trial that you can download at the Ableton website. So no charge, no nothing.
It's crazy because I downloaded it, but on my computer it would not upload. So that's what made me get to FL.
Interesting. Yeah, a lot of people do that. Ableton is a very expensive DAW, and there's nothing like. A lot of people use FL Studio. If you eventually want to grow and get a controller for FL Studio specifically, Akai, who makes the MPK, has a controller called the Akai Fire, which is a specific FL Studio controller. So if you like FL Studio and you start using it, that's something to think about. But with your launch key, you should at least be able to use those pads to finger drum and those keys to play melodies and stuff. So just do a quick Google search on the specific MIDI preferences of FL Studio, and you should be able to use it on a very basic level.
Okay. One more question.
Sure.
Where do I get your shirts from? You got a website, right?
Oh, the shirts? Yeah, so actually, if you're watching the stream, there might even be a little merch shelf right below the stream. If not, you can go to taetro.com/merch, and that will link you right to the store with the Control Freak shirts.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for calling in. I hope to hear from you again soon. Your name is new in my chat and stuff. I haven't seen it before, so welcome. I'm glad you found the stream.
Yeah, I've been subscribed for like 4 to 5 months.
Oh wow!
I've been watching you
in my chat and stuff. Very cool. I didn't
know you was doing live streams.
Yeah, we're gonna do this every Monday. So if you're interested in it, turn up every Monday.
Okay, I'll for sure to be in next week.
Amazing. Yeah, if you go to the description of the live stream, it says follow TAETRO, and then it says merch or whatever. You can click the merch link, and you should be able to find it.
I see it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you calling in for the first time. Don't be a sleeper sub anymore. I want to hear from you more.
I wasn't a sleeper. I was watching your videos.
Yeah, silently.
I didn't really take it serious until I just bought the FLs, and I'm like, okay, well, since I watch him the most, for real, so I'm gonna see if he know about FL, but I'm gonna try to see about the Ableton, because my cousin taught me a little bit on the Ableton, but I wasn't really able to.
Yeah, Try to push
do
through the
everything.
technical issues. Like you're like as a creator, as somebody who does like this kind of stuff every day, I run into technical issues all day. And the thing that will separate you from everybody else who wants to do this, who wants to have like the privilege of making music and being a beat maker and all that, the difference between the successful ones and the ones who kind of just fade away is the ability to just push through the adversity, push through any technical hurdles you find, and just find solutions. Google, Google, Google. Google is your best friend. And that if you can overcome all this little stuff, like jump the hurdles every single day, you're going to be so far ahead of all the other people who say they want to do it, but don't actually jump over the hurdles, you know?
Yeah.
And you can do
Thank
it.
you. Thank you. I really needed that. Thank you.
Of course. I hope to hear from you soon. And like, especially if you get Ableton up and running or you start rocking with FL Studio, just let me know either way. Let me know what's going on.
I got you, bro.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
Yeah, that's the thing, chat. We'll probably focus on something like that more next week. But totally pushing through the adversity is the number one thing that will separate you if you're trying to be a real professional artist, musician, whatever. You got to push through adversity. I run into technical stuff every single day, even at my level. The more advanced you get, the more technical problems you're likely to have. And the ability to push through those, it's just like the fishing on a boat. There's some people who turn the boat around and go back to the shore and say, I'm not fishing anymore. I didn't catch any fish, or I couldn't figure out how to catch fish. Those people don't fish anymore. So are you just going to turn your boat around and say, I'm not a musician anymore? I'm not an artist anymore? No, that's not what we do. We keep going, we keep pushing the boat forward. We figure out other tools that we can use to get the fish to start biting. We improve upon our process once we find some success, and we keep sailing. We sail in different directions until we find something that works, and we solve the problems. That's what will separate you from all these other people that want to be beat makers, that want to be musicians. Like, think about this. You want to be a beat maker? You want to be a home studio music producer? You want to be a music producer in general? When there's people that, and there's nothing wrong with this, there's people that clean for a living. There's people that put their lives in danger for a living. You want to have the privilege of being an artist, it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take overcoming a lot. If you want to live that lifestyle and be that person, you got to put in the work for it. It doesn't come easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it, right? So what separates you from everybody? The ability to jump hurdles, the ability to solve problems for yourself, and the ability to push through adversity. That's what matters the most. I think that's going to be it today, chat. I appreciate you all for being here. I know there was a lot going on in the chat, and I didn't get to all of the text questions, but remember, we will be live every single Monday for Mentor Monday. I'm really stoked to do this. If you have questions, don't be afraid to call in next week. We did about an hour and a half today. We'll probably average that, I would say. And we'll be back next week for another Mentor Monday. I've got a beat video dropping tomorrow. It would mean the world to me. We're moving this number a little bit, chat, because before when I threw out this number, it was 82% watch time comes from unsubscribed, people who are not subscribed. We moved that number down to about 79%, but I want you to keep helping me move that number down. So 79 people who watch the videos on the channel are not subscribed. 79% of my watch time comes from people who are not subscribed. So if you could help me by subscribing and ringing the notification bell, because I've got a video coming out tomorrow, and then I've also got a mic giveaway video coming out later this week that I have to finish a couple edits on. That might be up Wednesday, but stay tuned. You want to be notified when the videos come up, and it helps me, it helps the channel when you comment, when you like, and when you're subscribed, obviously, and when you turn up and watch the video in its first few hours. That really helps the channel. So if you guys are looking for ways to help the channel, some people always say, people always say more people should be watching this. More people should be watching this. TAETRO should be more popular. That would be great. I would love that. But I'm going to work as hard as I can to make sure people do the things that, I just said. So you all can help me because you all stayed and watched this whole stream. And I know you guys are super into it by liking, commenting, and subscribing. And not just on this video. I have over 300 videos, I believe. You can go on any of the videos today. Browse through the back catalog. Watch some videos you haven't watched by me before. Leave a comment. Leave a like. Let's get that watch time and stuff up so we can grow the audience and we can get more of, this kind of positive content out to more creators and home studio music producers. I would really appreciate that. Any follow-up questions from today's stream, tweet at me, at Nick Tatro. That would be cool. If you want to support the channel, patreon.com/Tatro. You can support for as little as $1. All of it's appreciated. Whatever you can give, I really appreciate it. I see lots of y'all. I can't start naming names because I can't name all of you in the chat, but thank you all so much for the positive words. I see you all. I see the names. I acknowledge you all. Thank you all for being here and for being such a great community. This has been Tatro with another Mentor Monday. Tune in for tomorrow's beat video. Have a good one.